Welcome back, everybody, to Drink or Drive Podcast. I'm your host, Frank, and this is a show where I create custom cocktails in exchange for my guest ride. Today, we have no guest, we have just me, and I'll be pairing a mocktail to my two vehicles. So let's get into it. All right, so this cocktail today is gonna be called the NA Heat. That's gonna be short for naturally aspirated heat. Now, if you ask why I'm doing a mocktail, well, first off, I have to drive my car after this and show you guys that. But second off, I actually stopped drinking. So like 2 years ago, I quit drinking and I was in the process of losing a bunch of weight. So basically, I just stopped. And then ever since then, I just haven't drank anymore. But I still love making drinks and I put liquid in cups for a living. I do it every single day. And it's cool because that's how I kind of came up with this show, is I wanted to still be able to produce all these badass cocktails that I make, but I wanted to be able to take like these cars on joy rides and learn them. So I figured since I have a lot of custom recipes to all these drinks, that I wanted to teach like my friends and, you know, just people about all these drinks, but I also want to learn about these cool cars, you know, too. So I figured that's what we were going to do. And that's kind of how we came up with Drink or Drive Podcast. I've been in the restaurant industry since I was 16 years old. 34 years old right now. So I don't know, that's quite a bit of time, to be honest with you. I first started off serving. I actually worked like banquets and caterings, and that was really cool. I did a lot of like bar mitzvahs and weddings. And from there, I just kind of slowly moved my way up. And then in 2020, I actually started bartending, and that's when I fell in love with the craft of bartending. Because serving, you know, it's so much different where you're just kind of speaking with guests instead of creating more. This was kind of a whole new level of like learning for me, and I kind of like learning new things. So I thought that was extremely cool, learning the whole bartending aspect of it. I had a couple of guys that taught me, and then I just started kind of taking it to another level with creating different custom drinks. And then when it comes to cars, I mean, yeah, I've been into cars for a long time. So I actually grew up in upstate New York. I grew up in Rochester. And then my family, my mom, my dad, and my brother, we all moved to Florida. My mom has lupus, so in the cold weather, they said, move somewhere warm. Florida was a really good option. So we ended up moving to Florida. My dad worked for GM when we lived in New York. So naturally, he always had Corvettes as I was a kid. So he'd put me in his Corvette. I'd be on like a little pillow so I could see over the dash. He always had white Corvettes with red interior. They were either like convertible or the T-tops or the convertible hardtop. So we always had white Corvettes. And then when I turned 16, I actually bought a Nissan 240 SX, and I saved up all my money to buy that. My dad would not help me out with his vehicle. I don't think he wanted me to buy this little Nissan drift car, to be honest with you, but this was such a freaking cool car. It was a 1997 Nissan 240 SX. So for 2 years of the Nissans, they basically had these glass headlights. They called them the Kooky. That was a 97 and a 98. So those are basically like the most rare of the 240s. And like now in today's age, the prices have just went up like absolute crazy. So I really wish I would have kept that car, but I ended up getting rid of that car. And then from there, I just slowly got into, man, I cut this lemon way too big. And then from there, I basically, I was just always really big into cars, you know, like back in the 2000s, you know, when the car scene was kind of going off in Florida, me and all my friends, we had all little drift cars. There was a huge car scene back then. So that kind of got me into like the Japanese vehicles. And then I got out of cars for quite some time, and I got into motorcycles for a little bit. I used to race dirt bikes as well too. So I kind of got out of the car scene, and then back in 2020, I ended up buying a Honda S2000, and I was looking into little sports cars and all that, and I came across this Honda, and I remember them back in the day, and I always kind of wanted one, but then I just kind of forgot about them. I ended up seeing this Honda S2000, and I did so much research into this car. I mean, I got like so hyper focused in trying to find the perfect spec car. And then basically I was looking into all these different colors of these Hondas, yellows, the reds, the white, some of like the rare combos and all that. And basically I ended up finding a silver one that was absolutely gorgeous. It was a guy that was retiring. The silver was not my first pick, to be honest with you. but I ended up finding such a clean one. The guy had the original window sticker to the vehicle. It was literally absolutely perfect. So I ended up driving all the way up to Paso Robles with my wife. We picked that up, spent a couple nice days over in wine country, drove it back, and then I just started learning the car. I just started driving it. 6-speed manual transmission. I mean, the car is probably one of the best driver cars that you can get. It's got a mid-engine in it, so the motor, it's an F20C motor, so it redlines at 9,000 RPMs. Pretty wild for a 4-cylinder motor. I mean, they really don't make cars like that these days unless you're getting like a GT3 RS or you're spending like $200,000, $300,000 and all that. So the Honda checked off a lot of boxes of things that I wanted in a sports car. And then being the convertible, you know, I was not really ever the biggest convertible fan. But once I actually drove one and had the top down, I really fell in love with the convertible. So started driving that car, and then I just slowly started adding like mods to it, things that I thought would make a driver's car an even better driver's car. So naturally, one of the first things I did was put some new suspension on it. I put some Olin suspension, absolutely great suspension for this vehicle. I could set it for stiff, hard, basically however I want to drive it. If I'm in the canyons and I'm going through the twisties and I want it to set stiff, all I have to do is put some clicks up and set it stiff. If I'm gonna take a nice little joyride, you know, and I'm gonna go up the coast for a couple hours and I want it soft and I don't want to feel every little bump in the road, which can get very annoying to be honest with you, then I'm gonna put it on softer. So the adjustable suspension was great. An exhaust system on the car, I added that on there. I was able to find later on, my dream spec wheels too. These are called Volk Racing CE28Ns. And these are like the unicorn spec of wheels. So CE28s, they are discontinued right now, the N version like I have. And the color that I have on there is called OG Bronze, which is like an extremely awesome color. You can't duplicate it. No other company can actually duplicate this color. So I wanted to find a wheel that was just not ever been repainted in OG bronze in this perfect spec. It took me like well over a year just to find this wheel. But my wife said after the wedding, she was like, you could buy whatever wheel you want to buy, because I had saved so much money and put it towards the wedding that now it was my time to, you know, shine a little bit. So naturally I wanted to find the best wheel that I possibly could find. So I found the CE28Ns in bronze, and I paired those with some Bridgestone Potenza RE71 RSs, and it is the perfect sticky tire for that. Being a 17x10 wheel and running a 255/40 17 tire on that car, I do think that that is the perfect most amount of grip. I have to run -3 camber on there as well too, and basically that just gives me the perfect driving experience with that car. And then later on, I decided, I had an SUV, my wife had an SUV, we didn't need 2 SUVs, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna sell the Subaru and I'm gonna buy another sports car, but maybe not like another 2-door sports car, but like a 4-door sports car that I could still go pick up any groceries, I could put whatever I need to put in there and not have 2 2-doors and one, basically, yeah, I didn't need to have another 2-door sports car. So I was looking at all different cars, basically. I was looking at the Porsche Panamera. I was looking at different Audis and all that. And then I came across the Lexus IS F. So I knew a little bit about the ISF, but I didn't really dig deep into it. So after I started researching this Lexus, then I fell in love with another vehicle. This is a 5.0 naturally aspirated motor in it. It's one hell of a motor, to be honest with you. Yamaha tuned this whole motor in Fuji, Japan. The F stands for Fuji, and that's where this car was tested and developed, was the Fuji track in Japan. So in case you don't know that, that's where the F comes from. There's under like 5,500 units of these cars that were made. And in the final year of the ISF, it's 2014, there were, I want to say it's 86 units were only produced. So this is a very rare car. A lot of people are like, oh, is that an IS250 or a 350? But they don't know. It's got the big motor in it. It's got 6-piston Brembos on there, big rotors. It's got quad tip exhaust on it. So there's a lot of differences with that. So then I ended up picking up the Lexus. And then I found out that people like the Lexus just as much as they like the S2000. So I really, wanted to have two driver vehicles, and both of them being naturally aspirated, I thought was really cool. So that's actually why I called this cocktail the NA Heat, because NA is short for naturally aspirated, and both my vehicles are naturally aspirated, one being with the 5.0 V8 in it, and the other one with the 4-cylinder, high revving, 9,000 RPMs. I mean, it's just like, naturally, I figured this was the best cocktail that I needed to pair for my vehicles. And now I'm gonna top this drink with a little soda water, a little Fever Tree soda water. In another video, I mentioned Fever Tree. Maybe you want to sponsor me. The sponsorship offer still here. Now, what I had put in this drink while I was just yapping away over here, I did a 3/4 ounce lemon juice. I muddled up 2 little slices of jalapeno. I muddled up 2 cucumbers and 2 strawberries. I then went with some ginger syrup that I made. And this is actually pretty easy to make. You just take fresh ginger, cut it up with a lime, put it in a blender with some simple syrup, blend it all up, fine strain it out. You have a really nice ginger syrup. This adds a little bit of heat. I wanted to do that with the car, 9,000 RPMs, V8 motor. It's got some heat to it. So that's why I wanted to add that in there, right? Then I also took some simple syrup. I used a 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, needed to add a little bit of extra sweetness right in there as well too. Then I took this Fever Tree soda water that I haven't added yet to it, but I'm gonna add some Fever Tree soda water right on top here. I also fine strained everything out so it's nice and clean as well too. You can use a nice little fine strainer here. That way you can get this to look very pretty. But it's not done, so I need to add a garnish on there. I need to add something cool, right? So I had already prepped these cucumbers. I actually cut the cucumbers a little bit thicker, right? And then I put a hole right in the end of it because I want to add a little bit of mint to that. So I kind of want to get a little fancy with this, right? So we're going to add the cucumber right on there like that. And then we're gonna take our nice mint right here. We're gonna take this little topper, break off a little piece like that. Stick that right in there like that. Come in with a nice fancy glass straw right here. That's it, that's the NA Heat, and it's all for me, baby. Oh yeah, that is so good. See, it's like, you can just really enjoy a nice summertime, little spice, little heaty mocktail. Just really go on with your day with this. No booze either. That's freaking good. Now, if you want to add booze to this, by all means, you can add booze. You can add tequila, you can add gin, you can add vodka in there. Basically, any clear spirit. I do think that the lemon and the ginger, they really accent themselves really nicely. If you don't like spice, by all means, you don't have to put jalapeno in there. I'm a little spicy, so I like spice in my drinks. So that's why I opted to add that right in there. And yeah, that's your recipe right there. All right, so usually this is the time where I exchange the cocktail that I have right here that I make for my guests for their keys, but like I have my own keys and I have my own drink. So yeah, my wife came up with this really cool idea. She was like, hey, I'm gonna write these little these little questions and put them in a little jar, and I don't have any idea what they say. They make me a little nervous because I don't know, because I have no idea what they say, but we're gonna answer some of these questions. So, wow, that drink is really good. NA Heat, wow, delicious. So let's just, let's go in with the first one. What is your favorite road in California to drive on? Ooh, okay, so there's a lot of really cool roads, especially here in like Southern California. I mean, the whole car scene out here, I think, is huge. From coming in Florida, and you know, the whole scene over there was more like street racing. There's no canyons or anything like that. It's all about like fast cars and all that. But here we have all these like really awesome twisty roads. There's Ortega Highway, there's Palomar Mountain, there's Angeles Crest Highway. There's all these like canyons in Malibu that are so fun to drive too. But I will say my favorite one is probably Angeles Crest Highway over in Los Angeles. It is probably one of the most dangerous but most fun mountains to drive. Like, I'm talking, this road is just absolutely so fun. It is, you want to be paying as much of attention as possible because there's a lot of twisty, crazy corners and all that. A lot of straight off, just like cliffs where you can fall off with your car if you're not paying attention. So Angeles Crest Highway is definitely my favorite. Like I said, it is really dangerous, but it is an awesome road. You have no service up there or anything, so once you're up there, you're just up there. And a really cool thing that me and my friends did the end of last year, my buddy Raph and Riley put this big Honda S2000 thing called the end of the year cruise. And we had over 55 Honda S2000s. We drove up at bright early dawn before the sun even came up. And we all got in a position where we knew the photos were gonna be awesome. And we literally just sat there, watched the sunrise, watched all the cars come up. We had so many of these Hondas. I'll put some B-roll in of that right now because I have a lot of footage from that day. And I will generally say that was one of the best cruises I have ever had. When you're just looking in your rearview mirror and looking in front of you and you are just surrounded by all like enthusiasts with the same car that you own that are so passionate about these cars, it is just so freaking awesome. I mean, we had lunch up there, we had tables, we had chairs, we had snacks, we had our sodas. I mean, it was so freaking awesome being up there with that many cars. So I'd have to say Angeles Crest Highway, favorite road, hands down in California. Next question we got here. What's harder, creating a cocktail or knowing what kind of drink to make for specific people? You know, that's a good question. So I'd have to say it's not that hard to make a specific drink, I think, for people because like basically at the restaurant that I work at, we have a list of all of our drinks that are on the menu. But when I'm not busy, I always throw people out and I'm like, hey, you tell me what kind of flavors that you like and let me see if I can kind of match something up. And being a bartender and doing this for, you know, a good amount of time, naturally when somebody says, you know, I want something refreshing, I think of cucumber, I think of mint, you know. If they think I want something more spirit forward, you know, I'm thinking less citrus to put in there. So I think naturally that's pretty easy for me as a bartender. I think that's just over the years of gaining knowledge and asking those questions of what do you like and hearing a lot of the general same answers. So I think basically, yeah, that's making a drink for a specific person, not that hard. Now creating a cocktail, I'd have to say is a little bit harder because you want to be able to create this cocktail. It needs to be balanced, you know, it has to hit the palate in all the right ways. So there's a lot of times that I'm creating a cocktail and I'm like, oh no, that's not good. You know, I put too much citrus in there. It's too sweet, you know, it's not well balanced. Or a lot of the times, you know, you go to take a sip of a cocktail that you just created and there's really no depth to it. So then at that point, you have to like, okay, now you got to think, you got to create a whole new, you know, you have to think of all new ingredients to add in there. So I think it is harder creating a cocktail, but that's just with me. Let's see what else we got in this little jar. Biggest bartending fail. Oh my. Okay, this is a funny one. So, okay, so I just started off bartending, right? I had this bar manager, his name was Brennan. If you're watching this, Brennan, thank you for teaching me everything you've learned because that's how I'm actually here today. There's something called orgeat, which is an almond liqueur, right? And we made our own almond liqueur orgeat, and then we also made orange cordial, which is basically Cointreau, as what you would put in margaritas, right? Now, these two bottles were both behind the bar, and they're sitting right next to each other. And I guess somebody had switched the orgeat with the orange cordial. So all night I was making what I had thought as I was making margaritas and putting Cointreau in there. I was actually putting almond liqueur in there. So I don't know. I don't think it tastes good, to be honest with you. I have no idea, but I think that was probably one of my biggest fails. All right, let's see what else we got here in this jar. How do you define success? Well, I don't really think I've succeeded yet in life, so I don't know if I could actually fulfill this question and answer it to like my best. But, you know, cars and all that, like, they come, they go, and I know that, and there's definitely some really nice cars that I do want to obtain in the future, but I don't think that as succeeding, you know. I think succeeding as in providing for my family, growing my family, having kids, buying a home and all that, and that's something that I quite haven't done yet. So maybe in another like couple years, 5 to 10 years, I can make another video and maybe come back to this question and tell you how I actually succeeded. But right now, I don't actually think I'm there yet, but we're on the way. So we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. All right, let's see what we got next. Let's see if it's not as deep of a question or if my wife's trying to just ask me all these deep questions. What is something people would be surprised to learn about you? Oh, I was a really big skimboarder, huge skimboarder. That's what actually moved me from Florida to California. So I lived up in New York till I was 15, then I lived in Florida till I was 21, and I fell in love with the sport called skimboarding. It's basically like surfing, but there's no fins. It's a very, very different sport. It's almost like a skateboarding and snowboarding, but on water, and you can add all these elements to it. So I moved out to California because the shore break is some of the best in the world. Shore break is like heavy waves that pound right on shore. If you're from somewhere that doesn't have an ocean like the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic, you know, you don't really get too big of shore break. Me, living on the Gulf Coast of Florida, the waves are pretty small over there. So I wanted to get out to California naturally. I thought that was the best place for me. So I ended up working at this skimboarding company called Exile Skimboards in San Clemente. I helped build boards, run the team. I do the skimboarding announcing as well too. So there's a contest in Newport Beach called Oktoberfest, and every single year I do the announcing for that contest. So that's what kind of got me into liking to be behind the camera and loving to yap, is because I do the skimboard announcing and I also compete as well in it. Now as I'm getting a little bit older, my bones and all that, they don't work the way that they used to. So I have to stretch for like 30, 40 minutes, like anytime I'm going out in the water anymore. I always feel like I'm gonna get hurt, but skimboarding was a really big part of like my life, and that's what actually got me out here to California. So I'm very thankful for all the skimboarders and everybody I've met from all over the world, and just like, that's probably a huge thing that brought me out here to California. All right, next up, what do we got? Wow, that's great. What's the most underrated spirit in your opinion? Fernet Branca. If you don't know what Fernet Branca is, it's such an industry type drink, to be honest with you. It's a digestive from Italy, which means basically like after the Italians would eat their meals, they would want to digest their stomach. So this has 28 different herbs and spices in it. Now it's a very industry type drink. It's, as far as industry, is these little tiny Fernet coins that they have. And it's basically a bartender's handshake, to where if you only get these by bar reps or anybody in the industry, and if you're an actual advocate of Fernet, or you sell a lot of Fernet, or you make a lot of Fernet cocktails, they basically give you this little coin. You were to go up to a bar, you put the coin down, right away that bartender behind the bar knows that you're in the industry and you have a specific like mind of booze, of what am I even saying? You like the same liquor as they do, right? So I put my coin down. If that bartender does not have a coin, it has to be on them. It has to be within like 3 feet of them or whatever. If they don't have the coin on them, that means they owe you a shot of Fernet. That means you basically just beat them in this little challenge game. But if they do have their coin and they put their coin down on your bar, that means that they accepted your challenge, they beat you, now you owe them a shot of Fernet. Total hospitality thing. Fernet Branca, one of the most underrated spirits. I go as far as making drinks, like I'll do Black Manhattans and put Fernet in it. I'll do whiskey sours and put Fernet in it. I'll do fig and Fernet old fashions. So I love this spirit because a lot of people do not actually know about it. And if I can kind of get that into a drink, into something that they could be more into liking, then why not try to do that? So Fernet Branca, most underrated spirit. I love it. But yeah, we'll go on to this next question here. What was the first cocktail you ever learned to make really well? The first one that I probably learned to make really well, and probably the most fun that I have doing it, is a whiskey sour. I really like whiskey sours. I work at a whiskey bar, a big bourbon bar, so we do a lot of different cocktails, and we would sell a lot of sours and old fashions, right? I probably it'd have to say old fashions or whiskey sours, right? I personally love the art of making a whiskey sour. What it is, it's very simple. You take an egg, you crack it open, you get the egg whites out of there. You sift that into a tin, you take fresh lemon juice and simple syrup, and then you take a bourbon, right? You put it all in a tin, you shake it all up with no ice. That's called a dry shake. That adds it basically takes all the ingredients, and with the egg, it makes a very frothy texture. You then add some ice right into it, shake the crap out of it. That's gonna get the froth even more. Then you put it into a nice coupe glass, you strain it out into a coupe glass. I like to add a little bit of like bitters, like artwork on top of it, and a maraschino Luxardo cherry. And it's a very simple drink, but I think just repetitive, making so many of them and really like getting it down to like perfection, I'd have to say that was something that I kind of like mastered right away. And old fashions as well. Old fashions are simple, you know, they're bitters, there's a little bit of sugar in there, and they're bourbon as well too. But when it comes to the craft of, you know, mixing it with your spoon in the Yari, which is a mixing glass, you know, there's a lot of those aspects that I think are really cool. So those are probably like the two drinks that I mastered, old fashioned and whiskey sour. I like bourbon and whiskey drinks, to be honest with you. What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self? I'd probably actually, one piece of advice I'd say, I'd probably start sooner, to be honest with you. Like specifically with this and being like behind a camera, you know, I don't know why. It took me so long to like actually do this, you know. I've always been behind cameras, you know, all my friends have been into videography, photography. Naturally, I've always wanted to be behind a camera. I do not mind being mic'd up. Anybody asks me, hey Frank, you wanna be in my video? Yeah, I'm freaking down, dude. Like, I am not shy by any means. So I think I probably really should have started a YouTube sooner, and I should have like really got focused in onto the content. After doing the episode with Austin Keene, one of my old roommates, and kind of really listening to how he did everything and got his way into success, he said something in that podcast. He's like, Frank, you could have started sooner. And like that kind of hit me. It's like, dude, I really should have started sooner. So if I could tell myself that, start sooner. Yeah. All right, what else do we got in here? Learning about me. What's next? What has been the most rewarding moment of this show so far? I think probably the most rewarding thing is actually just sitting here right now and doing this. Like having a whole vision and actually creating it. I think that is a huge success in itself right there. Like when I had first thought about this, I didn't know where I kind of wanted to go with this show. I knew I loved making the cocktails and I knew I loved the cars, but like pairing them together and building a whole studio, like this studio that I'm sitting in right now that you're looking at isn't a one-car garage. Like I did this all myself. It was a little bit of ChatGPT, honestly, to give me like some type of vision. I said, hey, put a whiskey barrel, put a couple chairs, put a carpet, and put a nice backdrop, you know, and like show me, you know, what I have to look forward to. And then actually like seeing this all come together, that has been the biggest success for me. So yeah, this, being able to just sit here and in my own studio that I created, this is really cool. This is very, very rewarding for me. When I get a few of my dream cars, this will be really rewarding too, but this is really cool. What car would it take for you to replace the S2000? If any. I mean, but there's nothing replacing the Honda S2000. But if there were a car to replace that vehicle, I've already said this before, it would be a 997 Porsche GT3. That would be the replacement for the S2000. I think having a naturally aspirated S2000 that revs so high, going into a Porsche that's also naturally aspirated and being another high revving machine that is an absolute monster of like on the track and handling, I do think the 997 Porsche would be the next best replacement for the vehicle. But the thing is the Honda, it's not going anywhere. Like it's a forever car. Like if I have kids one day, which I hope me and my wife have a couple kids, I hope they'll be into cars, and I would really love to pass the Honda onto one of them. It's a reliable, it's an awesome car. It might not be their first car when they're 16 years old, but I will save that for them. So the Honda's not going anywhere. Now, I will get an Acura NSX next for my next car. That's a very obtainable car. That's not gonna replace the Honda. That's gonna be parked right next to it. I just need to actually get a 2-car garage and somewhere where I could put both of these vehicles, because NSX and S2000 would be like my all-time dream 2-car combo as of right now. I mean, there's the S2K, I already have it. There's the NSX over there. I don't have it, so let's try to make that happen. But 997 GT3 would be a replacement of a car that's never getting replaced. So, yeah. All right, what do we got here? What was the hardest part about moving to California at 21? I don't want to get emotional, but it's my parents, to be honest with you. That question was deep. So yeah, the last question was, what was the hardest part of moving away from Florida at 21? It was my parents. I love family. I'm very family oriented, so that was very hard. I love you, Mom and Dad, if you're watching. And if you could do a drink or drive episode with any celebrity, who would it be? Jay Leno. God, Jay, come on, let's get you on the show, my guy. I know you have some like insane freaking vehicles, and I heard you daily drive an Acura NSX. Now, it might be a newer NSX, but still, like, I've seen your show, you know, Jay Leno Garage. I've seen you driving up to, like we talked about earlier, Angeles Crest Highway. Like, I would love for you to be here in my 1-car garage in Dana Point, California, and I'd love for you to have an amazing drink. So Jay Leno, if you're watching this, man, let's get you on the show, because you deserve a good cocktail. I don't even know if you drink, but if you don't, I'll make you a mocktail, whatever, it's cool. All right, last question. What do you ever hope Drink or Drive becomes in the next year or two? You know what? Right now I'm doing this as like a whole passion project and all that, but I would love for this show to just become a success, almost like a comedians in cars getting coffee. You know, when I was describing the show to a lot of people, they were like, oh, I love that show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. That kind of reminds me of it, you know? Like, so I want people to be like, oh, Drink or Drive. Like, I want them to refer to my show as to something different, you know? Like, I want them to be stoked on it. I want it to be more of a well-known name, you know? Not only around the United States, but around the whole world as well, too, you know? In Japan and all these different other countries, you know? Like, I like teaching people new things, and like, I really hope that, you know, everybody can learn from this show. It is totally different. It's a very niche thing, you know? I know there's not a lot of people that are pairing, you know, cars to cocktails or cocktails to cars, you know? Like, I'm trying to get into depth into these ingredients as to why I paired them with the specific parts on some of these vehicles. So, you know, I would just like for this to, you know, become more well-known, and, you know, just to have, you know, Drink or Drive as something people are like, oh, I really like that show, or I've heard of it, or like, oh, that guy Frank is funny, you know? Like, I don't know. I think that would be something, you know, cool, is to have Drink or Drive come up in, you know, people's vocabulary a little more often. That's all the questions. My mocktail is now watered down because I just yap so freaking much, but that was it. That was the NA Heat, and I hope you guys learned a little bit about me, and I hope you learned a little bit about my vehicles. And this is the time of the show where I'm gonna open this garage up, and I'm gonna have my beautiful Honda S2000 that I'm gonna jump in and go take a little cruise in. And then I'm probably gonna take the Lexus out too, so you're in for a little double whammy here today. S2000 and Lexus IS F. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, let's go do this. All right, we are in the Honda, and this is honestly my favorite car. Just sitting in this thing, it's just, in this Recaro seat, it is so comfortable. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California, so we're gonna put the top down. Super easy to do. There's 2 latches up top. Just hit both latches right here like this. In the center, there's a little roof button. The e-brake has to be up. And then you just pull the button back. There it is. It's perfect out today. Convertible down. Let's take it for a rip. We are now entering Ortega Highway. Kind of show you guys what this car is all about. I also got the Meta glasses that I borrowed from my buddy Connor, so you're gonna get some point of view driving as well too. And yeah, you're just gonna be able to hear what this thing sounds like. I mean, listen to this thing. just wants to scream. Yeah, baby. Oh, I love this car so much. I'm telling you, 250 horsepower of just pure adrenaline when you're driving this thing. Smiles per miles, that's what I say. And oh my, this thing is just so perfect. Woohoo! Woohoo! Downshift third. Alright, well, that was a cruise with the Honda. I hope you guys enjoyed the Ortega Highway. That was just a little taste. Alright, we're in the Lexus right now. Push to start for 2008. It's kind of hot in here. Let's get this thing started. Oh, good V8. Absolutely amazing. We got the aftermarket carbon fiber steering wheel in here. It's got 8 gears, this car, which is really cool. Kind of ahead of its time for a 2008. Let's go to the canyons. Let's go through some twisties. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're just gonna take this for a nice little cruise. We'll get some views at the top for you. And yeah, just show you a little bit of the ISF and its driving form. It's a really fun car. The downshifts from 6th to 5th with this exhaust has this perfect little pop, to be honest with you. I love the downshifts from 6th to 5th in this car. Naturally aspirated 5.0 V8. I hope you enjoyed some of Ortega Highway with the Lexus ISF. This car is just an absolute blast to drive. It's a daily driver for me. I don't drive it very far on the daily, but this car is very special, to be honest with you. I think I'm probably gonna hold on to this one for quite some time. It's just night and day differences when it comes to both of these. I really like the torque and the horsepower with this. The handling, I think, is much better on the S2000, but overall, I think they're two great cars together, and I know a lot of people who actually have S2Ks and ISFs, so if that's a combo that you could actually have, I suggest picking that up, because the raw horsepower and the V8 tone of this Lexus ISF is unbelievable. And then the high screaming 9,000 RPMs of a S2000 AP1 is just, you know, like nothing else. So great cars. Yeah, I hope you guys kind of had a fun on this little drive with me in the canyon. And it's been a pleasure to teach you guys a little bit about myself, where I come from, what I kind of want to accomplish with this show, and I cannot wait to bring you future episodes. I hope you enjoyed this one on me, and until next time, we'll see you guys later. Cheers.